What Lies Beneath and Petrichor was my article this weekend. I'm reading an article by Robert McFarlane headlined What Lies Beneath. The article begins, "We live in an age of untimely surfacings," and continues, "The same month water levels in the River Elbe dropped so far that hunger stones were revealed. Carved boulders used since the 1400s to commemorate droughts and warn of their consequences. One of the stones bears the inscription, 'Wenn du mich siehst, dann weine,' if you see me, weep." These unburials also disrupt simple notions of Earth history as orderly in sequence, with the deepest down being the furthest back. Epochs and periods are missing and entangling. The problem, writes the archaeologist Peter Petrichor, is not that things become buried far down in strata, but they endure, outlive us, and come back at us with a force we didn't realize they had, a dark force of sleeping giants, roused from their deep-time slumber. As we scan the sky for rain clouds and sniff the air greedily for the smell of Petrichor, Petrichor is the earthy scent produced when rains fall on dry soil. The word is constructed from Greek petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the fluid that flows in the veins of the gods in Greek mythology. Petrichor odor was due to the presence of organic substances closely related to the essential oils of plants. And these substances consist of the fragrance emitted by thousands of flowers, absorbed into the pores of the soil and only released when displaced by rain. After attempts to isolate it, he found that it appeared to be very similar to, if not identical with, bromocedron, derived from the essence of cedar. These are indeed human instincts that have been with us since the beginning of time, I am sure. Today, some of us might dial up AccuWeather or some such platform in order to inform us of what our once finely tuned bodies already understood at an elemental level. Sifting that original and ancient signal from the 21st century noise is surely the problem. It is surely a fact that the new age of the machine, the smartphone and algorithms has blunted our ability to listen to nature. And we are evidently tone deaf, not unlike those folks on the sidewalk who would quite likely bump straight into you while studying a tweet. The reason Petrichor comes to my mind is surely that in the current rainy season of very light and occasional showers, I am being, in fact, assailed by multiple releases of the odor. Last week I was listening to Dr. Petrichor, the governor of the central bank, who was visiting Washington for the IMF World Bank spring meeting, and took the opportunity to do some investor relations work on our behalf. Dr. Petrichor advocates our position with coherence and conviction, and he performs an invaluable task, which practically no one else does. In fact, Dr. Petrichor spoke of the lack of rain as posing up to a 1% risk on full year 2019 GDP. One of the functions of an investor relations exercise is you put your best foot forward. But in my experience, drought episodes have typically taken bigger chunks out of our GDP, and there is a powerful negative feedback loop effect. Our food price profile is actually high beta with an observable price gouging bias. So the first thing that happens is food prices start climbing. Already our food import bill has started to spike. This then feeds into inflation, which then poses a monetary policy question. Professor Ndugu, Dr. Njoroge's predecessor in 2011, argued that it was not a function of monetary policy to respond to such a situation. The markets disavowed him of that notion in 2011, and you will recall that rates were forced as high as 24% before the situation was brought back under control. Economists like Nassim Taleb might characterize what I'm outlining as tail risks. A tail risk is the additional risk of an asset or portfolio of assets moving more than 3 standard deviations from its current price, above the risk of a normal distribution. Tail risk is sometimes defined less strictly as merely the risk or probability of rare events. Taleb made his fortune and name correctly betting that the market was mispricing tail risks, or we can call it haywire risk. All the available evidence is informing us that the weather tail risk is seriously elevated on a near-term, medium-term and long-term basis, and in a very non-linear outcome, Africa has 18 of the 20 most climate-affected countries. Returning to Kenya, last year good rains meant that agriculture was a serious tailwind. From our horticulturalists to our tea farmers to our smallholder farmers, everyone did well. Importantly, agriculture has an important economic diffusion effect because of the volume of stakeholders. The shilling, which had traded double digits not too long ago and for the first time in a number of years, is back around the 101 level, and the market anticipates additional food imports. It appears that President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga travelling to visit Xi Jinping together, a conditioned precedent of further loans, it seems, post-FOCAC, and in order to reduce Chinese political risk exposure. And I'm sure it's front and center given how much they're on the hook for in Venezuela, for example. To ask for a multi-billion shilling increase for the extension of the SGR to Kisumu. Tax collection data, and more importantly the public response, which is as negative as I've ever witnessed, is signaling the pips are squeaking and that collections are now maxed out. Sure, the Eurobond predicted as soon as the IMF rolls over the insurance facility will kick the can down the road. Whether you call it luck or you call it resilience, let's hope ours does not run out. The human nose is extremely sensitive to geosmin and is able to detect it at concentrations as low as 5 parts per trillion. Some scientists believe that humans appreciate the rain scent because ancestors may have relied on rainy weather for survival. And the Petrichor aroma is strongest during the first rain preceding a long dry spell.